Deleting the background. Yeah, there we go. Now I'll just select on the white and delete it off, and I'll need to select on this white here as well and delete that off. Okay, now that's a little bit too big, so I'm going to press Control T and again transform. You should hold down Shift as I said before, but since my hand's busy, it's the best I can do. Okay, so we'll call that good enough. Move it down into the corner over here. And what I'd like to do is make that logo stand out a little bit better. So I'm going to show you layer styles. Layer styles are, as I said before, extremely useful in Photoshop. So without further ado, to get a layer style, just go over to your layer panel. And by the way, if you ever lose your layer panel, I should probably let you know you can go to Windows, Workspace, and Default Workspace to get it back. But anyways, so you go to your layer styles and your layer palette, and you want to double click in the blue area here of the layer. You double click and you get this amazing window that pops up with all sorts of great different effects you can apply. So I'm going to show you a bunch of them. I'm going to start by showing you the ones I want to do, and then I'll try and show you some of the other useful ones. So the first thing I want to do is apply a stroke. What does stroke do? Well, it basically makes an outline of whatever color you choose suddenly appear around your picture. So I'm going to show you the picture, and then I'm going to apply the stroke, and you'll see that a big red line appears around it. I don't actually want a red line, so I'm going to go over here and I'm going to change it so that it is a white line. And then I'm going to click OK, and you see that it has this kind of nice little outline. I'm going to make it a little bit thicker of a line. I'm dragging this size. Probably want to make it 6. You can just type in a number if you want. And you can see that it gets this kind of nice white outline. I'll put it more on the blue so you can see what happens. It's got this nice white outline around it, so make it really stand out. Okay, so that's one thing a layer style can do. Next thing I want to show you, the most used layer style of all time, is the drop shadow. Right here. So I'm going to click drop shadow, and I'll show you what happens once you kind of play with the drop shadow settings. You can make a shadow just suddenly start appearing behind your object and create kind of a false sense of depth in your picture to make it look like it's really sticking off out of the page. So how did I do that? Basically what I'm doing over here is I am adjusting the distance that makes the shadow go out and further away. I'm also adjusting the size, and what that's doing is making it more blurry or less blurry. So I want to make it fairly blurry. You can also adjust the angle at which the light is hitting it, and I'm going to send it that way so the light actually makes the shadow go the opposite way because that matches better with the picture. I might make it a little more vertical, like so. And you can kind of play around with different settings until you get it the way you want it to be. I'm not going to play around with it too much because you guys got work to do and I don't want to spend the whole day just you guys watching YouTube. So I'm going to click OK. Well, actually, you know what? I'll go through a couple other things too. There's so many different things. I recommend trying them out. Probably the most useful ones you're going to ever see are bevel and emboss, color overlay, gradient overlay, and pattern overlay. But there's some awesome ones here for all sorts of effects. I'll show you more about that with the text. So anyways, I'll click OK. And there we go. We got our Washington Capitals logo with a bit of a shadow and an outline going on around it. So next I want to put in some text. And we're going to go up here and I'm going to click just to put in some text. Once you get the text tool, so I should probably just show you a little more clearly. Text tool, horizontal type tool. Because of course there's also a vertical type tool and some other things. But we're going to go to the top now, and you can choose all your different things you want to do, such as fonts. You can make it italic or bold. You can change the size of the font. And there's some other settings here that you can kind of play with and experiment with. So I think for the font, I don't know what a good font would be. I got a lot of fonts. I'm going to choose, I guess this one here looks okay. So I'm going to type in Alexander Ovechkin. Alexander, of course I'm typing with one hand. Oh, that's awfully big. Ovechkin. Okay, so that's obviously a little bit too big, so maybe I'll change the size. This font is bigger than I thought. You can choose one or just type in the font size up here. Should I bring it down to 60? That looks pretty good. Okay, I'm going to move it around. And you can choose the color of your font as well. I'm going to go to the text tool. Whoops. Sorry, folks. And I'll select that again. I just want to change the color. So change the color, all you do is you go to your foreground color and double click. You get this nice color choosing palette where you can choose the color, or you can click anywhere on your image, and I'll just get my mouse here and choose a color from your image. So I'm actually going to choose the color from the Washington Capitals logo. So I just click on the color and it'll automatically load that color into my palette here. So I'm going to click OK, and you'll see that in fact my text color has changed. Now layer styles are great with text, so all I'm going to do is apply a layer style here. I'm going to double click on the layer, brings up the layer styles palette, and again I'm going to apply a stroke. So I'm not going to use red, of course. I'm going to use the blue from the Washington Capitals logo. So I get the color choosing palette, and I'm just going to click on some of that blue in the Washington Capitals logo. Sure enough, it gets that lovely blue, and I'll click OK. OK, and I get the stroke that goes around the text. I think I want to actually make that a little bit thicker, so I will go back to my styles and just drag that size. I'm going to drag it, and you can see you can make it really huge, or you can make it kind of, reasonable size. And you don't want to be too ridiculous with it. So click OK, and then you can use the Move tool to move that around and position it where you want it to be. Okay, so it's looking almost done. You can apply some other layer styles in there as well. So experiment with other different ones. And the last thing I want to do is put a nice dark horizontal line across the top. If I show you my original picture and why it looks different, let's just enlarge it. You'll see that in my original picture I actually have that nice dark horizontal line that goes along there. It just makes for some nice contrast. Man, I like my old font better. Oh well, that's okay. Actually, this one's not too bad. Okay, so I go back and I want to put that horizontal line. So what I'm going to do is, whoa, that's bright. I'm going to use the single row marquee tool. So you just click on your rectangular marquee selection tool, click and hold, and get out the single row marquee tool. What you can do is just click anywhere, and it creates this big long selection along the length of the picture. And we'll just plunk it down there, maybe. And actually, I want to do this on a new layer. So what I'm going to do is go here, and I'm going to click on the new layer button. It's right here. Right here. So click on that. Get a nice new layer. So I got the selection on the new layer. It's going to be awfully small though. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to the select menu, and I'm going to go down to modify, and I'm going to expand that selection. And how much I'm going to expand it by? I'll say 2 pixels, and we'll call that good. So I'm going to move that selection slightly up. Looks like it's not quite where I want it. Can I just use, just using the arrow keys here. Notice I'm just pressing on the arrow keys to move that selection slightly up. Whoa, sorry folks, just blinded you there. Moving it slightly up and down just with arrow keys. And then you can either use a gradient or just fill it with a color. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to fill it with black, I think. Seems like a good color to choose for a nice horizontal line. Click OK, and we'll drop in black in here. And I'll press Control D to deselect. Now we got a nice black line that goes along and cuts through his head. Oh no! So of course, all we need to do is just move that layer down below the Ovechkin layer itself, and once we do that, Ovechkin will of course be on top of that black line, and again that creates another sense of depth, so that it makes the Ovechkin picture looks like it's closer to you and actually sticking out of the page. And there you go. I'd call that pretty decent. And so that shows you some of the tools that we're going to be using for this project. When I get back, I'll show you some more stuff, but that should be enough to get you started. Alright, thanks folks. Have a good class.